missing entirely the love that is shown. That's what hurts my soul, saddens me really in this part. We can give it to God. We should give it to God. Because He's already forgiven us. So when somebody betrays, we forgive. Because we know God has forgiven us for when we betrayed. Not just others, but Him. Peter and Jesus. After Peter denies Him 3 times, do you love me, Peter? Like a brother, do you love me, Peter? Like a brother, do you love me like a brother? Yes, Lord. I love you. He will meet us where we are and take us deeper into Him as we release what that looks like. As we release expecting God to say who is in and who's out. Well, I mean, yeah, I know you save everyone, God, and you love everyone, but you're really going to let them in? I didn't know you were God. He shows mercy. Should we not be doing the same? He's the one who truly knows who's the wheat and who's the weeds. Who's the wheat and who's the tares. He knows. We don't. So instead of focusing about who's good or who's bad or who's this or who's that or doing the very thing we're called not to do, why not instead we offer the same love we're shown? We forgive, unlike this debtor. We forgive the way the king does. Because he is our king. Because if the first servant had really embraced the love he was shown, the second one never would have had to beg. If the first one had understood the mercy that comes with that kind of forgiveness, forgiveness that would have thrown his entire family into prison and everything he owned to settle this debt, and instead is given love. If he had truly embraced that, then the second servant and the first one probably would have been close friends, rather than adversaries playing the world's game. So how about you? Are you tired of playing the world's game? Are you tired of having religion look like the rest of the world? Do you want a real relationship? One so deep and so intimate that the king's choice not only makes complete sense, but that your heart breaks for the unforgiving debtor. That he doesn't see it. And for the second debtor, the second servant, because he had to be roughed up by a broken person in a broken world. If that's what we're aiming for, if what we truly want is to look like the image we bear, then we should be embracing the humane aspects of Christ. Not by some kind of tally, oh, I did this amount of good to counter this amount of... No. Deep, intimate relationship. In the heart. Just like in the last of this verse. If you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters from your heart, a place of reason, a place of choices, a place of emotion. Because again, we're going off the Hebrew understanding of it here. Because again, Jewish Messiah. If we're going off of that, well then suddenly forgiveness isn't a mental tally. Forgiveness is something deep within that understands it's needed. That understands that true justice and mercy are two sides of the same coin. Because if somebody is truly repentant, truly sorry for what they've done, then true justice is to give them the opportunity to prove it. That's what we see here. God setting it right. Because let's take it from the parable. Let's go a bit deeper with it. You have the king wanting to set it right. Settling the accounts. End of time kind of thing here. Setting it all out so everything is where it's supposed to be. First debtor refuses to live in love. Refuses to show mercy. But before that, he begs the king for mercy. True justice is to be merciful. So the king has pity on him. Gives him the opportunity to live out the same kind of life and love that he is being shown. And in verse 33, when this angry king, and 34, when the angry king sends the man to prison to be tortured, because he didn't forgive his fellow servant the same way he had been forgiven. That too there. Justice is being set out. You had the opportunity to choose to be merciful. You didn't. He didn't. He could have been merciful. He could have been kind. He could have been bearing the fruits of the Spirit. He could have been in relationship with the Lord, living that kind of life. But he didn't. He chose to look like the world. And so he repeated everything that the world does. Going for the throat. Crushing the life out of somebody else. Because, well, I need to get mine. So screw the little guy. He's just another rung on the ladder for me to get to the top. How Tower of Babel of him. The second servant, in that same place of needing pity. How much you want to bet the king gave him the first guy's position? We don't know that by the text. But we do know that the debtor who owed more is sent to prison and doing time for the lack of forgiveness. Because, hey, justice, it needs to be set right. The account must be settled. You didn't want mercy, you get the other stuff. That's the cold, sobering moment of this. Not the cold as a mean kid out to get anybody. The sobering moment of that God is merciful. And he's inviting us to live in mercy. And he is saying, you can either live my way or the world's way, but you cannot serve two masters. So pick one. From them, true to us now. You cannot serve two masters. So pick one. Do you want to serve fear? Because that was what drove this man. To be cruel. It was fear. Or do we want to reflect our King? And I know I've said this a couple of times now, but it is that important. You know, we're going to see tomorrow that God understands intimately that we live in the gray. And we will see rather adeptly that God is very much in the business of getting himself messy to make us clean. It all still has to be set right. Right is right, wrong is wrong. When the world tries to convince otherwise, that's when you get places like Judges. Places like now, where the final line of, and in those days Israel had no king, and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. But this, and in these days, the world does not see its king, and does whatever it feels is good in its own eyes. So governmental lockdown, shutdown, camps, things of this BS nature, the world calls it okay. I say God will use it. And even if sent to prison, it's a pulpit, to borrow from Paul. That's a difference. It is a radical difference. It is day and night difference. It's an upside-down kingdom difference. Because God is very much black and white in that regard. He knows we operate in the gray, and He's reaching out. So I implore you, I beg you from the depths of my being, if you do not have a relationship with one, get into one. Recognize that when we sin, we need a Savior. We need it set right. We need God to move and fix these things because we can't. I'm begging you, get into relationship with Him. Have Him be your Savior and King. Welcome Him in to be as such. Because Jesus saves from the depths of damnation on that side of eternity and from the depths of damnation on this side of it. The depths of pain, the depths of sorrow, the depths of depression, the depths of frustration, the depths of rage. The chains of dependency on things rather than being dependent on Him. I'd imagine if you take 5, anyone listening to this takes 5 and thinks about the different times they have put other things on the altar of, I'm going to put my trust in this. Please understand, I do not condemn you for it. I'm there too. I have moments where I put God's promises up and go, why haven't you done this yet? Rather than relishing in the fact that God is working all things. I know these struggles. 613, I'm pretty sure I managed to hit every single one of them. I know. I know it's hard. I know there's struggle. I know with the insanity going on, it is a lot easier to just say, screw it, I'll go along to get along. I promise you, intimate relationship with Him will make it so that forgiveness like that is part of our nature. It is a second nature, but one we were always supposed to have. We didn't with sin in the world. And Jesus can set it right. So please, don't be like the unforgiving debtor in anything. Rather, show the mercy that you are shown. Live the love that you are given. And hold to Him who is greater. I look forward to tomorrow as we continue, or rather start chapter 19, continuing on into Matthew. We're going to be doing verses 1 through 14, or 1 through 12, my apologies. Discussions on divorce and marriage. And recognizing that God works in the gray. I look forward to seeing you then. May His favor be upon you. Know that you are loved. And hold strong. Because He'll see you through it. And He always makes a way into something better. I'll see you then.